give a warning on this first. In case, because I feel like I shared this on Instagram, but not here. I have a black eye, which I feel like is actually not looking too terrible in this lighting. But Bennett gave me a black eye on our cruise because he was so excited. He jumped into me. Um, and so anyway, just wanted to like tell everyone that's what that is, in case we're wondering. It's probably way more distracting for me than y'all. I can like notice it all the time. Cannot wait for it to go away. It's gotten so much worse. Like I keep thinking, oh, it'll get better, it'll get better. And it's just like progressively gotten worse, which I know is just like how bruises go, but oh my God. Like, come on. Hi Rebecca. Hi Lacey. Um, oh yeah, it is like so dark purple now, like nothing touches this thing in terms of coverage. So that's okay. Anyway, what we are here to talk about today is something that I feel like it's one of those things that I think I really get such a value of being able to see being behind the scenes in so many businesses. And like, getting to watch different people's experiences of like making a lot of money, going from not making a lot to making a lot, what that transition looks like, all of the things. And so I just want to like share that transparently. Like, I feel like I have so much value having done this for 10 years and seeing so much over that time. And one of my like goals is to always be able to translate that, share that, because I feel so lucky to have this perspective on business. And so that is what today is about. With video quality, I wouldn't have noticed if you didn't say anything. Okay, good. I think it is really just me. Happy Monday, Julie. I also think that in person it does look a lot worse because you can like see how caked on the makeup in person. And so I'm always like, I hope everyone knows I'm fine. Like because if I saw someone with like, that, I'd be like, oh my God, is she okay? So anyway, I think I'm like in my head about it in a way that is like totally unnecessary, but such is life. It is completely fine. But I agree with you. Like the video is like helping. And also everyone gave me advice about what to do about this window. And they said, put a light here. And I feel like that light here is really making a big difference because I did have a light here, but moving one to the side. Anyway, I don't know. You guys don't need to know all this. What you need to know is what we'll know and tell you about money that I will. And there are a few different things. There's one very specific thing that I want to talk about, but there are a few pieces under that I want to get to. So let's get into it. Also, if you have questions, if you're just like, I just want to like know this piece or like hear you talk about this piece, feel free to tell me what that is. I'm very happy to dive into any of this. These are just kind of like the parts that I feel like are the most important that I do not feel like are getting talked about enough. Um, and as always, you guys know the drill. Any comment and you're entered to win a $100 gift card for spending your Monday with us. I think obviously, especially the Monday after a holiday weekend is not always an easy time to lock into business. So if you were here, thank you for being here. Thank you for spending time with me. Any comment, you're entered to win. Um, hey, Allison, good tips for my toddler inevitably gives me a black eye. Oh yeah. Like that apparently that's the thing they do. Like everyone I've talked to was like, oh yeah, then there. The best tip I have for you is you have to like color correct it, which everyone told me and I didn't know, but it's like if it's purple, you need yellow or whatever. If it's green, you need peach or something like that. You have to like balance it. Anyway, the things you learn as a toddler mom. Um, okay, so the biggest thing I want to talk about that I feel like our industry just does not acknowledge at all, in fact, does the opposite of acknowledging, is that the clients I have that are making the most, like if we were like, okay, which of my clients are making the most? They are not just objectively the happiest, right? Like, again, this seems like something that is obvious in some ways, but how we treat money in our industry is like, it is the thing. If you just figure out how to make X, then everything else is fine and you will be happy and it will be good. And I am not saying money is not important. It certainly is. I'm certainly not going to sit here and pretend that it does not make life easier, better, any of those things. However, I think there is such a misconception in our industry that the people in business who are making the most are the best and the happiest, and that they have somehow healed or transcended in a way that other people haven't. and that they just are having a better overall experience of business. And it like literally just isn't true. Um, and the reason that feels important to say is because one, I think it's like very important to acknowledge that in terms of like it really does just get to be like this kind of crazy marketing thing. But two, because what it does is it prevents you from actually thinking about what business model works best for me, what marketing strategy works best for me, what actually feels best for me. Because the way it gets positioned in our industry is the only thing that matters is how much you make and how fast. And if you do that, none of the rest matters. Like the money is what will make it good and happy. And so you should withstand or sustain or deal with almost anything else as long as it gives you the money. That's crazy town. Like that is literally crazy, right? But again, I do think that that is like the vast majority of how things get positioned. And so I feel like so many women step into it being like, okay, well, if that's what it's going to take, like that's what I have to do. I'm willing to do all of these things that make me really unhappy in order to get to this end result that makes me very happy. The amount of money is not the happiness correlator at all that I see. I've seen people make the most and be the most unhappy. And I've seen the opposite, where someone can make, you know, what other people would kind of like turn their nose up at, but is like perfect for them, their family, their experience. And so I wanted to share that because of the first part I said, but also because of the second part, which is then we're so often waiting to be happy in our businesses until we're making X. Like, even if we have a business that we could be very happy, very um, fulfilled in right now, we won't let ourselves have it because it's like, I can't be until I have X. And that is what is keeping so many people from actually getting the results they want, is because they get so into this idea that they're not going to be able to be the version of themselves they want to be or have the happiness they want until X comes. And what we know from both like a motivation and manifestation perspective is that doesn't work very well. You know what I mean? Like, it does not work very well to feel terrible about a business, hoping that then that business will make enough money to let you, be allowed to feel happy. Like, it does not work well. And like, what I really care about is what works well. Okay. I'm not saying you can't make money that way. I am just saying it's a very, very hard way to do it. And it's a very hard thing to sustain. And most of the time, you'll be disappointed when you get there because you'll be like, wait, this money was supposed to make me happy and it doesn't. Oh, fuck. Now I have to rework my entire business and my life and my model because I realized that this amount of money didn't actually make me happy. Like, that's what happens, right? Hi, Alyssa. Thank you. Hey, Steph. Good to see you. Um, so again, the amount of money does not correlate to the amount of happiness. However, the amount of happiness and fulfillment you feel does correlate to your ability to sustain business, to stay in it. And when you stay in it, that does directly correlate to outcomes. So it's like an inverse of the way we position it, right? If you can build a business that feels really good to you and that you like, the likelihood that you're going to be able to long term make money that feels good too is really high. And then guess what? You get both. You get the money and the happiness, right? Or at the very least, you get to feel good the whole way there. But if you do it the opposite way, if you're like, well, the money is the thing that's going to make me happy, so I will do anything and deal with anything on my way there, guess what? You're probably not going to get to the money. The vast majority of people won't tolerate that long enough to get to the money. And if you do get to that money that way, then what are we saying? You just won the like tolerance Olympics. You were willing to tolerate being in a situation that did not serve you for longer than anyone else. Like, it doesn't sound that appealing when you say it like that, right? Because it's not that fucking appealing. I have a lot of other pieces I want to talk to related to this, but I do want to stay on this for a minute because I just think it is so important. Again, I'm not saying that money can't bring happiness in the sense that it might give you more choices, more freedom, all of those things. But I think that so many people have that level of freedom and choice in many ways available to them much sooner than they think they do from a monetary perspective, but they won't make it because they think the money is the thing. But what I always tell my clients is how you build it is how you will experience it, right? So if you build a business being willing to do all of this shit that feels objectively terrible to you, even when you're making a lot of money, it's probably still going to feel terrible. If you build a business being like, well, this is the business I like, and I'm finding a lot of like freedom and fulfillment and whatever in it, when the money comes from that, you're going to feel freedom and fulfillment. And I know it's so hard to give ourselves this permission because this is just like not what we hear. It's not how our industry positions things, and it's certainly not how like society positions things, right? Like almost everything in our society is like, be willing to be miserable and then, retire at 65 and then like hopefully it can be great. I mean, like, but when you hear it like that, it's like, wait, why would I be optimizing for that? Like, that's all so fucked up. And so, most of the reason all of us got into entrepreneurship is because we wanted a better life experience. And so, the fact that we keep doing things that harms our life experience and actually gives us like worse experience sometimes than even just having a corporate job, thinking that if we can just get the money, it will be better, is so monumentally fucked up. But that promise is what will have you over investing, paying a lot of money to a lot of coaches and programs instead of going, what actually feels good to me? Because again, the money and the happiness are not strongly correlated. I have not seen that to be true, right? What I have seen to be true is that when you can build a business you like, it can be really, really easy to sustain. And when you have a business that you can sustain, you have a business you can make a lot of money in. Like it's kind of that simple, right? Sure, you could be miserable and make 500K in a year and then burn out. And like someone might even say, well, that's a good thing. I'd rather just make 500K in a year and quit. Fine. But what if you could have a business you love and make 200K for 10 years? Okay, well, is that 2 million? Yes, that's 2 million. And so, yeah, it's over 10 years and not over one where you're making 500K, but like give me the 2 million in a business I like all day, every day. Do you know what I mean? So I think that it's just this different way of thinking about it, where it's like we think the money or the accomplishment is the prize, is the thing. And it's like building the thing you like is the prize, is the accomplishment, and the money comes from that. And again, I know it's so hard to give ourselves the permission for that. I have definitely struggled with that too. To be like, my happiness, my fulfillment, my day to day life experience actually matters. But when I really come down to it and I look at it and I go, oh, wow, this is like literally the context of how I spend my days, my time, my life. Like when I look back on my life, I'm not going to care if there's one extra zero. I'm going to be like, how did I spend the last 10 years or whatever, right? So I just cannot tell you enough like how much I believe that. And again, I think it can sound so cheesy, but I'm telling you, having been behind the scenes for so many businesses, for so much quick money, for so much, big shifts in income, like the money isn't the thing. It is a very important part of running a business, but if it is the only thing you're optimizing for, you're going to end up having to unwind a lot later. And I just think that's so much work. I really do. I think the other thing I want to talk about is this perception of what it means when you've made a lot in your business and what it looks like from a choice or freedom perspective. Oh, let's see what Rebecca said. Rebecca said, how you build it is how you'll experience it. This was literally what I said to my husband about our engagement wedding planning season. I refused to be miserable and stressed because that's not how I wanted to set up my marriage. And that's exactly how I look at my business. Perfectly said. Yes. Like, or even like the wedding, I'm sure is the perfect example of that too. If you're stressed the whole time planning it, you're probably not going to be highly chill the day of. Like making that transition is probably not going to happen. If you're stressed the whole time, you're probably going to be stressed the day of. Like it's not that hard to see the examples of this, right? I think we can see it in almost anything. It's like how in dieting, there's such clear research and evidence that restriction always leads to binging, right? Because if you're constantly restricting, you're going to experience it as this miserable, restrictive thing, and it leads to this backlash, right? Again, same thing in business. If you're constantly having to like willpower yourself through all of this shit you hate, there is going to always be a backlash on the other side of it. Some people can tolerate that longer than others, but like to me, there's no prize at the end of that, you know? And I think that's why, like this is like the seductive marketing in our industry is like everybody's marketing is like, I was so burned out a year ago and then I figured out X and now I'm not. And like their marketing was that a year ago too. It's because so many people are like willing to do this shit that they hate and then they hit this huge point and they're like, wait, I can't do it anymore. And then they have to like burn it all down and rebuild it. And it's like, that's fine if you have the stamina and the bandwidth for that. But fuck, man, like, what if you didn't have to burn it down every year or two? Like, what if you didn't constantly do shit you hate? Imagine what you could have created then from a totally different place, right? So, the other thing I think that happens with money that it feels really important to talk about is that I feel like there's this big perception that once you've made a certain amount in your business, you have absolutely no trade-offs you ever have to make, and no decision is ever really like on the table or hard or challenging, right? So hear people say stuff like, well, I just wish I was making X because then I could just like never worry about what to invest in my business. Or I wish I was making Y because then I could just have all the team I wanted. And I'm always like, I hear you, but there is never a place in business where you should just be wildly investing without thought. There's never a place in business where you should just be hiring a ton of team members without regard for like what the trade-offs are of that. Like even if you have a seven-figure business, you still need to think about like what makes sense to spend, what's our profit margin, what actually works here, right? And the fallacy that you will get to this place where all you do is, like churn out money that reinvests back into the business. It's not that good because it's not better to have a seven-figure business where you're just over investing and still not taking anything home. It's like the equivalent of having a six-figure business where you're over investing and not taking anything home. Like there is no win in, right? Except for being able to like tell the internet you made seven figures, which like literally who the fuck cares? You know what I mean? So again, I think that there is this idea of like, when I get here, none of this will be hard. When I get here, I'll be happy. When I get here, there won't be trade-offs. When I get here, I'll be able to do anything and everything I want. And that is what is keeping you from getting here. Like literally, that exact thought process is what is keeping you from the seven-figure business, right? Because the real thing is, I can handle these choices and trade-offs, and I trust myself to make them. I'm willing to make decisions that support my life and my happiness. I can be happy now. I don't have to wait till I'm at seven figures. I can figure out how to have the freedom I want now. I can figure out how to be supported by my team now. We're putting off all of this stuff thinking that seven figures gives it to us. And actually, what it does is just gives us more intensity around those things, to be honest. Sometimes at those higher levels, it's more intense to decide what you're doing with team because you have more of it and you have more that you have to figure out. It's heavier to figure out your choices and trade-offs because you have way more customers and more people you're serving. It's like, it really is not this like cakewalk that everybody thinks. And as soon as you realize, like, oh, that's not easier, better, different, it's actually more of the same. Who do I have to be now? That's when it gets good. How do I have the freedom now? How do I have the happiness now? How do I get the team I want now? Like thinking like that is what gets you to seven figures, hands down. Thinking, oh, all of that will be an erased problem once I'm at seven figures is literally bullshit. And it's what's keeping you stuck. It's what's keeping you from having to evolve. It's what's keeping you from having to like be the person who dot dot dot, right? Makes the hard decision, decides on her trade-offs, prioritizes profit, all of those things, you know? Um, do you have a journaling prompt you would give a client who is here? Lacey, by here, do you mean like thinking everything's easier there? I'm going to answer that, but if you meant something different, tell me. But the prompt I would give is like, what do you think you're going to get once you're there? And how do we get it now? Like, that's what I'm always asking clients. How can we have that now? How can we get that now? Right? If they're like, yeah, but I wish I could just like work 4 days a week. Okay, how do you have that now? And they're like, get that now. I'm like, yeah, you fucking can. You run your like you're the boss, man. How do we get that now? Or like, oh, I'm there, I would have a team that X. Well, how do we get your team to do that now? Right? So you kind of have to figure out like what is this thing that you think is here? Or like the happiness thing. This happens with so many of my clients, when they're doing the like, I'll be happy at a million. I'm like, okay, what would be different that would make you happier? And they're like, well, I would spend afternoons with my kids. I'm like, don't you now? And they're like, oh. Yeah. Yeah, I actually just spend afternoons with my kids now. Yeah. Or like I would, you know, whatever, take X trips. And I'm like, how many trips did you take this year? And they're like, oh, yeah. Like it's usually not that far away. It's literally just the story that like I can't be happy until, right? And most of it is this proving thing. It's really not a happiness thing. It's really not a money thing. It's like we feel like we have to prove our worth, our goodness, our value. And until we prove that, we're not allowed to feel it, right? So that is the rub. Until I prove it, I can't feel it. And the flip is I have to feel it, right? And then I won't care about proving it. Because if I feel all of that, I'm not that worried about proving it to the internet, right? Like something I really um like feel in a lit up life is like I feel so fulfilled. I feel little to no pressure around like what that means to the internet, right? I don't even know how much I talk about feeling really fulfilled because it's just not like it's not a thing I'm negotiating for. It's just a truth, right? And that's why I think it gets so crunchy for so many people because it's like that's why they can never reach the finish line because they think, oh, well, I'll be able to be happy when I make a million or whatever. But they never actually get that happiness because what they were chasing wasn't the money. It was like this feeling of worth or validation. And then even when they make the million, they still don't feel the worth or validation because they're still having to make choices and trade-offs. It's still not perfect. They're still having to deal with hard things, right? And it's just this endless cycle. And so if you could realize like the people that are making more than you or making what you want to make still have choices and trade-offs, still have hard things they have to deal with, still have uncertainty, still have worthiness shit, still have enoughness shit, whatever. And all that's different is they decided that they didn't have to wait. Like that's the ticket, right? Okay, good. I'm glad that was helpful. Um, like that is the ticket. I don't have to wait. I don't have to wait until I'm worthy to have happiness in my business. I don't have to wait till I feel like I've proven myself to have this fulfillment. I don't have to prove to the internet I can make X to call myself successful. I don't have to prove that I'm a good business coach by making Y to like validate my expertise. Like if you really get into all of that, it is so obviously not driven just by the money, right? Again, I'm not saying that money's not important. Money has done a lot for my life. Money has given me so many things. However, it's just not what I have constantly pedestalized. And I think that's actually what's made it so much easier for me to make it. Um, if I think about a lit up life, like making 7 figures in a year on one-on-one coaching is absolutely unheard of in our space. And like I did want that from like it'd be so fun to go get that thing. But it wasn't like to fill a hole. I was like, I'm gonna have this business the way I have it no matter what, because I like it and it brings me joy. And I would always talk about how like I felt like a millionaire long before I made $1 million, long before my net worth was there, long before like I felt like that because I got to be in a business that I liked every fucking day of my life, right? And again, it's like the cheesy thing to say, but it's the truth. And most of the people that are out here marketing in that way, saying like, oh, you just need to make X and X is the thing. Either one, aren't that happy and they're also just chasing the money, or two, don't realize that such a big part of why they're happy is because they've built a business they really like, right? It really is just that. Yes, Megan perfectly said. Megan said joy in business is so underestimated. It really is the unlock because it is what will keep you in it. And the true unlock to success in business is time in the game and momentum, right? If you can keep playing the game, you're gonna get fucking better at the game, right? If you can be in the game long enough, you're gonna start stacking wins on the board. Now, you could try to be an outlier, right? You could go for the like, hey, I want to be the Jessie Jean that blows it out of the water and has these insane launches. But guess what? She's also had a ton of fucking time in the game and a ton of points on the board, right? And at some point, it just does take off. And sometimes it looks like overnight success, but it was really just time in the game? So that's why I keep talking about this as such an important thing because so many people think the rules are so complicated, right? I just have to figure out all of these strategies to get to a million and do whatever it takes to get to a million, and then it's easy. And it's like, no, no, no. The game is I just have to figure out how to like the shit I'm doing every day enough that I want to keep doing it, that I don't constantly feel like, oh, how do I get myself to post today? Like, that is the way to have a hard business. If you wake up every day being like, oh God, I have to talk to my clients today, or like, oh, I have to post today. What do I even like? I don't know what I don't fucking know. I don't want to say that. I don't care. Do you think you're making millions like that? No, ma'am. Oh shit. Like, let's not put a chip in my new desk. Um, when you're like, I love this. Yes, my clients. Oh my gosh, I can't wait to tell somebody about it who will listen to me talk about X. Oh yeah, they have to listen to me on my Instagram, go post this, right? Like that is how you get what you want because one, time in the game, but two, that energy translates. Like it is so not fun to hire someone that just simply does not seem to be excited to be doing what they're doing. You know what I mean? The energy translates in such a big way that again, if you like it, if you're fulfilled by it, if you're giving yourself the freedom and the excitement and the happiness and the whatever now, it's so hard to not be attracted to that. It's so hard to not want to hire somebody that's in that energy. But again, so much of why that doesn't work is because even when we could be in that energy, we won't let ourselves. We're like, yeah, but I can't feel like really good and happy right now because I have money to go make. Like, no. And you not letting yourself feel good and happy right now is why the money feels hard, right? And it's why you're setting up this story that money is hard to make and it takes so much sacrifice. And listen, I'm not trying to say that it doesn't take showing up, consistency, like really being willing to try stuff and iterate, but all of that, every single piece of that, the showing up, the consistency, the iteration, all of that is made easier by doing shit you like, right? All of that is made exponentially harder by doing shit you don't like. Like every key to business comes back to can you be happy now? Can you be fulfilled now? Can you enjoy the work you're doing now? And it doesn't mean you don't want more. It doesn't mean you don't go after more. But if you cannot do it from that place, it will all feel like such a slog. And then there's just a timeline on how long are you going to tolerate that slog? Some people can tolerate it for a really long time. Some people can only tolerate it for a little bit. And this is how the industry makes money. Because if you can only tolerate it for a little bit, you're on to the next thing, you're on to the next offer, the next coach, the next product, you're reworking your whole business model, you're burning it down, you're building it up. That is how the industry makes money, literally, because you won't tolerate it not feeling good for that long. So you're on to the next shiny object that is promising, you know, the next unlock to the money. So anyway, no one doesn't have decisions and trade-offs to make. No one is objectively happier because of it. Again, I'm not saying it doesn't make life easier and better like up to a certain point. It absolutely does. And then I also think that there is like a fallacy too, that not only just about decisions and trade-offs in business, but that there is no point where you ever have to think about money. Like that you will get to this point in business where like money just isn't a thing you ever have to think about. No, but yes, cultivating the joy fountain. I love that. Also not true. Like when you make more of it, you actually do have to give it attention. You have to think about like, what am I doing with this? What's happening with this? What is a good decision about this? I was actually talking to someone that we're friends with that built a SaaS, made a ton of money and sold it. And he was talking about the fact that the biggest mistakes he's made were after making a lot of money, and that a lot of his friends that have also been in those positions of coming into like a lot of wealth quite quickly all made really, really, really fucked up choices, right? And like are trying to now course correct for that. And I share that because again, it seems like, well, that will be easy. I won't have to worry about money. And it's like, no, no, no. Like you'll still have to think about money then. In fact, maybe even more so. Maybe it's even more important to become familiar with it, engaged with it, clear on your decisions and your intentions with it, learning about it, knowing what to do with it and why. And what if we did that now? Like, what if we did that before all of it came? What if we were like, oh, I'm always going to have like clear value stance around money. I'm always going to have to know that there are choices and trade-offs. There's never going to be a point where it just does not have to be something I think about. So what if I make the thinking about it not feel horrible now? You know? Like again, it's all back to like, oh, well, if I have a really positive relationship with money and the thinking about it doesn't feel horrible, it's safe to make more. If the only reason I want to make more is because then I think I won't have to think about it, that's kind of fucked up and not really how we're going to attract it. Does that make sense? Oh shoot, didn't you guys lose me? Hmm. Lost my like feed there for a second. But like, isn't it so funny to say it that way? Because when you hear it like that, it's like, of course, that sounds insane. Like, if my only point in trying to make more is so that I won't have to think about it, of course, I'm not attracting it. Like, it's almost like, oh, well, my point in like wanting to get married is so then I won't have to pay attention to like actually being in relationship. That relationship is not going to work out how I want it to work out. Right. I want to build a business, but I don't actually want to like have to run the business and everything like that. Not going to work out. I want the money so I don't ever have to like think about money, trust myself with money. No, that is just avoidance, right? And if you stop, the earlier you stop avoiding it and the more you lean into like, okay, I'm great with money, I make great decisions. Even when I have less than what I ultimately want, I'm really good with how I use it and where I put it. And I feel trust with myself in that. That is a recipe for more money coming to you. That is a recipe for not holding yourself back, for not like, pushing it away because you're actually so scared about what you're going to do with it when it comes. And so all of this leads back to the fact that we truly think if I just make X, and then like the domino of thoughts come from there. I'll trust myself. I'll be enough. I'll be worthy. I'll be happy. I won't have to think about it. I'll never have to make trade-offs. I'll be able to invest in anything I want to. None of that is true. And if you go and look at every one of those stories and pieces and you actually work through those pieces, one, you're going to enjoy the shit out of what you're doing now so much that you will care less. But two, it's going to be so much easier to make money. How do I feel worthy now? Okay, let me actually look at that. How do I feel the freedom I want to feel now? Okay, let me look at that. How do I build trust with myself with money? Okay, let me go do that. Like this is that act of like go be the person you think you're going to be at that and stop buying into these stories that tell you otherwise because those stories are what's keeping you constantly over investing, constantly in this cycle of if I just figure out some other way to get to X, then it will be fine. And again, this is like hard shit to wrap your brain around. I think especially for so many of us kind of like eldest daughter, millennial type of personalities where most of what we were taught. Oh shoot. I wonder if I keep losing my feed here. Sorry guys. Most of what we were taught is like your feelings don't matter. Right? Your fulfillment doesn't matter. Like go suck it up, go do what you have to do. And so we're so conditioned to not make this important. But almost everyone has some kind of reckoning with this at one point or another in business because you just can't make it that unimportant for that long, you know? So it's counterintuitive. It's definitely not how most of us were raised. It's not what most of our conditioning is. And I promise you it's the unlock. So trust me, from this vantage point, the people making more money are not happier. It's not the factor, right? The factor is, are they doing the work? Are they looking at themselves? Are they trying to build resilience? Are they dealing with tough things or are they avoiding them? Are they leaning in? Are they actually picking things that make them feel good and joyful and fulfilled in their business? Are they actually giving themselves time and pouring into themselves? Like there are a lot of pieces that make a difference, and money certainly makes some of those things easier, right? But the thing is, it is easier to get the money when you are optimizing for those things, when you trust yourself with it, when you don't think that there is some magical thing on the other side of it, when you're like, oh yeah, I have X now, and here's the amount of like trust I have with myself and the amount of, grace I'm willing to give myself and the amount of support I'm willing to have for myself. And more money is just going to ask me to answer those questions more. Do I know the answer? Do I trust myself to have the answer? Am I willing to be the person who can go figure out that answer? Like that is the ticket. Oh, good. I'm so glad it was helpful, Rebecca. Thank you for being here. So anyway, That's it. That's the whole game. I also want to talk next week a little bit more about profit strategy in business because I think this is another big piece of it. So today is like more the mindset piece. Like, let's stop pretending that there is this magical thing on the other side of money because that is what keeps it out here for us. But then there's, of course, the like profit side of things too. Like, because you can make $1 million and have like no profit and not feel good about money, or you can make 100K and be taking home a lot of profit and feel really good about it. And so those are very different things too. So we'll talk about the strategy of it next week because I think that matters a lot in this conversation too. I don't want to pretend that none of it matters. Um, it does. Like, it really does. Like, again, you have to be taking money home from your business for the business to feel good. I don't want to make light of that. And you could have a 7-figure business where you're taking home almost no money and not feels bad, but it just like looks good. Or you can have one where you're taking home a ton of money and it might not sound as sexy to the internet, but you're like living your best life. And I don't really care in terms of like what you want to make, but I do care that it feels good to you when you make it. And so we'll talk about that next week too. Rebecca said it's crazy how we don't want to feel our feelings at every stage of the game. 100%. Right? It really is true. Like, so much of this is like about the avoidance of trusting ourselves or feeling uncomfortable things or dealing with uncomfortable things. And the story is that money helps you not deal with more uncomfortable things. And the truth is, money just creates different versions of that, right? Like, the discomfort might not be like, well, I just can't invest at all. It might be like, oh, I have a lot of things I want to invest in and I have to trust myself to decide which one makes sense. Like, they're very different problems in some way, but in some way they're the same problem. They're just like, do I trust myself? Can I make this what I want it to be? Can I move through this? And so it's really important to have that context because when you actually do those things, build the self-trust, look at all the stuff, feel the feelings, everything gets easier and the money comes so much more easily and quickly because you simply trust yourself to have it and hold it. So I hope that helps. We will talk profit strategy next week, which, is my hope that that will be a useful piece of this as well, because again, certainly there is a mindset component, but we don't want to pretend it's the only component. There are practical pieces here to like how we make this feel good and everything. So I hope you'll join me next week for that. I hope this was helpful. I promise you I would tell you if the opposite was true. Like, I'm a do what works girl. If I was sitting here going, you know what, all my clients that make the most money really like are just the happiest. Like, the only thing you have to do is go figure out how to make more money. Like, trust me, I'd be willing to tell you that. In fact, it would behoove me to tell you that. It would benefit me greatly to tell you that because that's kind of my job is to help you make money, but it's just not always the thing. Okay. Hope that helps.